Give them a shot to do what?
I love how you asked the question and then I hit the live button as soon
like-
as you asked it.
I was like, okay, guess I don't know.
Yeah, welcome to the Divide Live, Shy Divide, with the Shy Kid. Mikey Hughes is in the building. I'm Mike Powers. Apologies for my partner and my absence for the last what feels like probably 2 months, but I was under the weather for what felt like the entire Christmas season. But man, I'm feeling good now. I know you're feeling great after the Bears won. So I'm honored to be here today with Mikey Hughes, talking Week 18 of the NFL season, the final time we're going to see some of these teams, and the start of the postseason. What's up, Mikey?
Yeah. I'm doing okay, man. You know, had my Green Bay Sucks hat on all day long, and I was like, man, I'm going to do it to myself again. I'm going to do it to myself. And then I don't know if you're watching the full game, but it was like, I literally was like, we failed the 2-point conversion, and then we ended up going for one, and I was like, they're going to end up beating us by a field goal. And then they literally hit a field goal on us, and I was like, yeah, it's done. It's done.
Yeah.
And no confidence. I was like, we're not getting the ball down the field. It's over. And then the plays and the formations, everything just looked horrible, but by the grace of God, somehow, some way, we pulled that off. And it's my first time. I'm a first timer right now, since doing the Shy Kid or Mike on the Mic or anything that the Bears have beaten the Packers. And I've been doing this 4.5 years now. So sorry as hell that it's the first time, but it's just nice that to finally say we did a live where the Bears beat the Packers. That's crazy. I know Marcus is somewhere in tears right now.
Yo, it's great because now you just sent Marcus's team to Philly. You know what I mean? With that dub. So that's awesome. Two things I want to point out is I did not think Chicago got spiked the ball in time. I honestly didn't. And I was just happy that nobody questioned it and they just kept going.
I was sick. I was watching it.
My brand, I was like, I don't know if my TV was glitching or what. I was like, oh, they didn't get it. And then all of a sudden, all right, just enough time. The best stat of the entire game was they are the first team since September 4th, 1994 to be in the lead in the first quarter with a negative total yards. That's just
that's our season.
That's
our
insane,
season
man.
in a whole.
Yo, it's so great.
It's not great.
It's gotta feel good though. I don't know. It's very.
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for teams like the Bears because the fans tend to be the most passionate. Like yourself and others, and it's just there's more terrible situations than good. Yeah. And so today was kind of cool to see. But yeah, what is that? 11 years or 11 seasons without.
6 years. 6 years without beating Green Bay.
6 years.
It's been a while. I graduated high school the last time we beat Green Bay, and I am turning 25 this year, so it's been a long time. So 18 to 25 is the last time to bridge that. So it's been crazy. And for me, I think the big thing, and first of all, because there's been a lot of Packer fans in my comments, and I'm sure Dwayne Marcus is one of them. First of all, I want to address this. Jordan Love and Christian Watson started this game, so I don't want to hear that we beat your backups. The best ability is availability. Don't pay a guy $200 million just to get hurt every 5 minutes. So that's how I feel about it. Two, your draft stock just went down. Mike, look at me in my eyes. We went from number 9 to number 10. If that means we beat Green Bay, I don't give a flying crap about it. Number 9 can be a future Hall of Famer and the greatest to ever play his position. That's fine. I will remember the day Caleb Williams beat Green Bay for the first time in 6 years, which is huge. And that was the third point. We lost 11 in a row. Our coaches got fired. They got fired last year. They got fired this year. Everything was bad. To lose as many games as we did the way we did, you needed this win going into the offseason because I think it changes a lot. And some people will say no, but Keenan Allen's going to be a free agent. If they lose to Green Bay the way they did today and they lose 12 in a row and your coaches get fired and all this stuff happens, it looks really bad. And if I'm Keenan, I'm I'm going back to LA. F this. It's freezing cold. I don't even want to be here. You always see him with his gloves on and his scarf. He hates it.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Like Green Bay and Chicago, like right now, tomorrow we're going to be on lockdown in the Northeast, New Jersey, Philadelphia,
Really?
because we're getting like 2 inches of snow, and it's hilarious. And like
Dude.
you guys, that's like a walk. That's like
Dude,
that's like
they used to-
drizzling outside for you.
10 feet, 10 inches of snow. They used to send us to school.
It's unbelievable. It's hilarious. But to watch some of those kicks, especially Green Bay's kick, like just it was a line drive that barely made it through, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just like to really recognize how cold it is. It's seeing the sideline and they're in these giant freaking winter coats, and I'm just like, man, I don't want to feel that. Right now it's 27 degrees here, and I'm just like, I don't want to go outside.
Oh, it's horrible,
for a
bro. I
second.
mean, flag football last year, Lakeshore Drive League. My guy Kev James, we won the chip, undefeated. Shout out to him. We lost in the chip this year, but this year was so different because it was actually like 35, 40 degrees. But last year in our championship game, it was like 10, and we were on the lakefront, so it was really like -5. And this is just a flag football league. The first team played before us. We had the bye, so they played, won the game, looked at us, shook our hands, and went home. And we were like, don't y'all gotta see, like, y'all gotta see us, we gotta play this game. And they're like, nah, we're good, we're good. And I was like, oh, so we just got, like, we won the conference championship by a forfeit because these guys were too cold. Like, we were freezing. The zoo lights at Lincoln Park were right there too, or was it, I think it's Lincoln Park. Yeah. Yeah, dude, it gets horrendous. Like, you couldn't even, respectfully to everybody watching this, if you're not from the Midwest, you cannot comprehend high school baseball, especially in the Midwest. Like, it is, dude, I'm taking my walks. I'm taking walks and I'm striking out all March and April because I'm not making contact with that bat. Like, I'm not doing it because you just get, your hands just obliterate, and it's the worst. It's the worst, bro.
So you brought it up in a negative way, 11 straight. I want to bring it up in a positive way, and that's with Mikey
Sure.
Evans. 11 straight years with over 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
That's great. Also, I know you were celebrating your Chicago win, so I don't know if you saw how that panned out.
I
but
didn't.
It was pretty epic. So, obviously the Bucs should have been in victory formation. Mike Evans needed 5 yards to get over 1,000, but also to unlock a $3 million bonus.
Yeah.
And they gave him 2 shots at it. On the second shot, he got it, and it ended the game. So it was a pretty epic moment, because one, Mike Evans deserves that. It gave him 11 in a row to tie Jerry Rice's consecutive record. So that's pretty insane. Mike Evans has been, whether it's fantasy football or for the Bucs, and he has been that beacon of hope for in that position. So it's pretty cool to see him, one, do that, but also continue to do it on an elite level. So a couple things. Barkley obviously did not play today. Obviously he had a record that could have been broken if he got over 100 yards today, which he obviously would have with this terrible New York Giants.
Could have did that in like 2 plays. Like,
Yeah, exactly. But I really respect what the Eagles did. They still won the game. Just goes to show how much depth they have. But Barkley realized, hey, I'm here to win a Super Bowl. I'm not here for records. And mind you, he also did this in MetLife Stadium as well. Like, he had a chance to beat a single game record in front of the Giants, and he decided not to do it. So this is the second time that he's kind of taken himself out of a game, or was convinced to take himself out of a game and agreed to it. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's so bad for me. I think it's bad for football fans because you want to see it, and it brings a discussion. Like, you talk about the previous record held, he only played in 16 games. Well, Saquon played in 17. And then but even prior to that, you go to the 1940s, they played less games. So it's like, there's always going to be those conversations of people who think he really broke the record or not. Some people say it has to be 16. Some people say a record's a record. We talk about that all the time, how many games baseball players played in the Babe Ruth era versus now. It's a completely different conversation. 162 games is insane, especially back then when there was 5 teams, and they were clubs. They weren't even teams. So for me, I think if I'm Saquon, like you said, if you don't win the Super Bowl this year, you look back on that and say, damn. Then for what? What did I just waste all this time for? Why did I just break my opportunity to have a legacy as the most yards in a single season for a first round exit. Like, and that's those and like you said, it kind of shows his maturity and where Saquon's been. I remember Saquon Barkley tearing his ACL because of Eddie Jackson against the Bears in Chicago. And I'm not one of those guys. I felt horrible about it when it happened because you never want to see that. But I think he learned from all of those injuries and just being with your New York Giants for as long as he was, that, sometimes you just got to take yourself out. And we saw him do that a few times throughout the season, not just against the Giants, like where, hey, third quarter, they're like, man, do you want to keep going? You're close to 200 yards. And he's like, nah, I'm just taking myself out of it because he understands, like you said, there's a bigger goal here. But for me, I think it's definitely a negative for the fans because you want to see that. I want to be able to say I saw that in my lifetime, and then also for Saquon, like if you don't win the Super Bowl, like then what is this season to you then?
I get that, but if he gets injured, like
Sure.
we're all saying, like the Eagles are idiots. Like
Right.
I would have benched him. Look at what just happened in Baltimore with Flowers. Like
Yep.
he left the game holding his leg. Like we don't, the injury report's not out there yet. But the simple fact is that could have easily been Barkley.
Right.
Also, Barkley is prone to injury. Most of his Giants career, although amazing stats all across the board, like it just felt as though. He was injured, not playing, questionable an abundance amount of times. So, for me, the longevity of a running back is so it's such a small window, right? Out of any other elite position, whether you talk different sports, different that, like a running back, the lifespan is so short, and
You get drafted and then you retire, and then
you're old. Like it's like it's like you have the life of a fly, like for real. Like that's what it is. It's like, oh, this is great. It's over. Like what? I just literally got my first snap. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like for me, like, and also like Barkley, and I said this as a Giant, So I don't even want to call myself a Giants fan because I'm not. That would be
a Giant enthusiast, I guess.
No, not even that. Just somebody who is known to follow the Giants. Barkley had the best arm on his team. And to watch Jones get paid, he got franchise tagged. To watch everything and then to hear it now in his words about what the Giants did on that call that he didn't know until he's now watching. HBO, and he's watching what they're saying behind his back and watching it, like he had no idea that they were on a call and they were like, he felt as though a call. He's like, I knew they were recording Hard Knocks. He's like, so I had a feeling. He's like, but I felt as though they were saying things on the call to get me emotional, and I didn't get emotional. So there is some hidden language in between what we witnessed as a society with Hard Knocks, what Barkley witnessed from the Giants on those calls. Yeah. So I'm just happy now he's able to, troll them a little bit with this sleep pill company. Sure. And it's just, it's been a really, really tough breakup, but it's good to see Barkley on top now. Like it honestly is. Well-deserved, great player. I've had the ability to be around a lot of the Eagles players this season. I can't tell you, like, not only did the Eagles draft well, they draft good quality people. And I can't help but notice that. And Nakobe Dean is like the second coming of Brendan Graham. Like they are cut from the same cloth as far as trying to give back to their community, trying to do right, and just be a good human being. Yeah. Like literally wanted to do something with Fox Sports The Gambler, looked at his girlfriend because he realized that it was her midterms for college, and he didn't want to mess that up. Like, so imagine being a professional football player and you're worried about things like that. I mean, there's guys out there that don't even worry about their own kids that they brought into this world, let alone midterm papers.
Yeah. And I think like a big thing, like especially like with the Eagles, what I've noticed, like the Bears traded, I believe, the number 8 or number 9 pick with the Eagles because we didn't want to take a chance on a guy like Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter had all that off the field stuff going on at the time, and I haven't heard a peep from Jalen Carter since entering the Eagles organization. And I think having veterans around him that he has, I think is really important for his growth as a human and as a person. Not saying he was ever. Fair. I have no idea what that legal situation was. But to really just see so many people not want to take a chance on him because they think he's an off the field issue, and now he's a Pro Bowler, and now he's going to be, one of the best Eagles linemen we've ever seen, hopefully in 10 years from now. So I think it's really cool, and I don't know. I think they do a pretty good job at making sure they got the right guys in the room.
Yeah, I agree with that, or at least they know that they can control the room, right? Because the years of like T.O., even Vic, like it became like questionable for sure, but now it's, I get excited, man. I don't know. What is
It's my guy, Dylan. How do you think the Bears should go into the offseason now? Ben Johnson has to be the first thing in mind. Yeah, I've talked to Mike about this all the time, and it's like, listen, I got these pictures, I got the frame, I got the hats, the clothes, the unis, but I mean this like from my heart. Like, I don't think I can do another failed experiment. I really don't. And I think, like, for me, today was a win, but tomorrow is your Super Bowl. The next 30 days are your playoffs if you're the Chicago Bears, because it's like, if you fuck this up, and it was my first F-bomb of the whole show, so 16 minutes in, shout out Mikey Hughes. But if you mess this up and you hire the wrong guy, I think that sets us back another 5 to 10 years. Because Caleb Williams, as good of a season as he had, I wouldn't say he developed. And I've talked to you about that, where it's like, I think Caleb is still the same guy he was on draft night. He great throws. Sometimes he overthrows his guy. He holds onto the ball way too long. He doesn't turn the ball over. It's the same guy he was. Whereas I'm seeing Jaden Daniels a lot better in the NFL. Mo Nix getting better. If you don't bring in a guy who can develop this kid and have a consistent scheme, the same play caller for the next 5 years, I'm going to be wearing a new Bears rookie quarterback jersey 4 years from now. And that's where I'm at. So whether it's Ben Johnson or not, it just has to be the right move. And I know that's like a cop-out answer. Like, dude, just do the right move and you'll be fine. Like, I know, but that's it. Like, I don't care if it's some random guy you found on 95th and whatever. Like, if he can do the job, do the job. Like, if you bring in 75-year-old Pete Carroll and he has no attachment with Caleb Williams and they can't relate whatsoever, and he's defensive-minded, like, Mike, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Brian Dable from your Giants. If they bring in Brian Dable, I'm not that mad about it, as long as he does the job.
Right.
The only one is like John Gruden. Don't bring in John Gruden. Please.
I think it's stressful, like, because you're seeing it with the Bears, you're seeing it with the Jets, the Giants. Like, once you get stuck in the mud, it's hard to get out, right? Once you have an engine that's going, it's easy to just keep adding pieces, and you see that with the Eagles, the Packers. That's it's crazy how they could go from franchise quarterback to franchise quarterback, give them to the Jets, and still be in the playoffs. Oh, and by the way, the Jets aren't. So I do feel as though you need to find that guy, and the Jets have 2 ways this offseason to try to figure that out. And one is going back to what worked for them, and honestly, it was the most fun in Jersey I've ever had, with Rex Ryan at the helm of the New York Jets, because, dude, it was it was like must-see TV. The only other thing I could compare it to was Chris Christie. Both of them were so Jersey, it wasn't even funny. He just said he protected his players by being the loudest person in the room, which was awesome. The fan base loves him, which is awesome. I could definitely see a route where he comes back. Now, the other way the Jets could go, Deion Sanders sent a message via X, formerly known as Twitter, saying that he hopes the Jets that wasn't just a routine, I have to interview, certain people for the Rooney rules and all the other rules, but Luis Reddick, GM interview, it sounds as though if they go that route, it sounds like Deion could find his way in MetLife one way or another. So it's a really cool time. But like you said, like, how many times do you have to go through this? Like, if you think about 2 years ago, the Jets watching Aaron Rodgers holding the American flag, running out on the field, they're all excited for all what was 5 minutes. And like that is one of the highlights, unfortunately, of his 2-year career with
It's
the New
like
York
70
Jets.
seconds, bro. Like,
Yo, it's-
5
yeah.
minutes is generous. Like,
Yeah, and like so, like it's just like if you did a montage, it starts and ends with that.
Yeah.
And like so, it's upsetting. You even saw them try to do it again this year by adding pieces that were familiar with Aaron, that Aaron wanted to play with. Rodgers does say on record that this has been 2 of the best seasons of his life. I don't know what he's been watching. I don't know what he was on when he said that, but for me, it's it's tough because you're seeing the Giants go through it, you're seeing the Jets go through it, the Bears have been going through it, and it's like when is it going to end? When is it going to end?
And this one wasn't on our list of things to talk about, but it did just happen. The Patriots just fired their head coach, Gerard Mayo. I just want to say shout out Mayo really quick because what a sorry-ass team he's had to deal with the last few years. And I think having a rookie quarterback with not a single wide receiver that I can name right now is just atrocious. And I think as bad as they were, I hate to see stuff like that just because, like, you kind of would like to see what a guy could cook up with if you did give him the right kind of roster. So it's unfortunate, but we'll see what happens with them. Maybe Mike Vrabel.
So we no longer wait for Black Monday. We just start firing people.
Yeah, we just
right
right
after.
now. Yeah, with the season, bro. I didn't even wait for Black Monday. We did this like months ago with flus. Like we were cool.
Yeah,
we were
yeah,
like,
that's fair.
yeah, just get out of here, bro. Everyone leave. It's fine with me.
Yeah, one thing that was kind of heartbreaking to watch, like I'm not gonna lie, the Falcons about to do the coin toss for the overtime, and the Bucks won, so they were officially eliminated. Like so, they have no idea. We're watching it at home. They're showing, the Bucks just won, and the coin flip's happening, and it's just like for me, that's heartbreaking. So it does suck.
Yeah.
But it's like it's still got to be cool to be in it all the way to the last game of the season.
Yeah,
because
I can't feel bad for you at all. You know what I mean? Like Kirk
Yeah.
Cousins comes in, you think it's gonna be a difference, and like the way I don't know how you feel about it, but like I see so many talented guys on that team, and as a Michael Pitts enthusiast in fantasy football, which I will never do again. Shout out Dwayne Marcus for taking Kyle Pitts from me because Jesus Christ, Smell My Pitts was in desperate need of a change, and shout out Mikey Powers for giving me, I think it was St. Brown or Jetta,
Yeah.
somebody.
Dude, yeah,
Just for
this
me
year-
to come in second was sick. It's coming second to a guy I've never met. So like I'm like, dang, who even is this guy? Like I forgot what his name was. I played against him and I was like, who is this guy? Like I've never seen him before. And I
So
was like,
funny.
he's such a phenomenal team, such an amazing draft. He had such a hell of a squad. But Drake London, Bijan, Kirk, like you have some dogs, you know what I mean? And it's just like that's what's frustrating, and that's where like as a Bears fan I can relate to it, to where it's like even as a Giants fan, like with Odell and Barkley and the boys back in the day, it's like, dude, you have the guys, like we have Rome, we have DJ, we have Keenan, we have Swift, like Caleb, but like you look horrible, and like I don't know how you can. You and I always talk about like this is what we're gonna do in 2025. This is how we're gonna grow. This is how we're gonna grow as a network and be better. And then it's like you see these guys have like 6 months to prepare for stuff like this, and then they roll out with 4 screen passes in a row in the first drive, and you're like, this is what you did all summer long. All the highlight videos of Kirk Cousins throwing piss missiles to Drake London, and we're just dumping it off to the backup running back. Like it, I don't know. It's you get what you get. You know what I mean? And you get what you put into it.
Dude, like I'm excited for the playoffs for sure. Like, don't get me wrong, NFL playoffs are fun. They're not like the MLB playoffs, but it's still a nice little weekend thing to do for sure. So don't get me wrong, like having the Eagles in it, like I said, the players are just amazing. The fan base, but the actual team is pretty awesome, and I'm excited to see how that all pans out. One thing I want to talk about, because you are a young guy, you have done some amazing stuff in the WNBA. You have done an amazing job of growing your network in TikTok, social media, and stuff like that. So when I see a lot of these headlines of these old guys that are probably taking their job for granted or doing things that they shouldn't be doing and using, or just having too big of an ego. One, Skip Bayless was just accused in a lawsuit for sexual battery and all this other stuff alongside a lot of his other Fox colleagues, which is absolutely crazy. And then on a local standpoint, we have Howard Eskin lashing out, denying his departure from WIP being something where he had an altercation with a woman and allegedly grabbed her. He's saying he did not grab her. She interrupted a private conversation with him and Brendan Graham, and he lashed out at her verbally and then approached her later to apologize and said as though she rejected his apologies and accused him of grabbing her and made it a bigger deal than it is. This is like three folds because the Eskin family, in my humble opinion, has ruined New York radio and Philadelphia radio for decades. I do not like them. I think they are full of themselves. I don't enjoy any of their takes. If anything, their anti-takes get attention, and the average caller enjoys just arguing with them. So whatever, I do respect their longevity. I do respect the fact that, Howard was able to stay in the game as long as he did. But I do have a problem with this. Some radio personalities thinking they're bigger than Jesus and honestly acting as though you can't interrupt the conversation they're having off the air. As a producer, I've witnessed this. As a guy in the podcast world, I've witnessed it where I don't even want to call them B-level athletes are being guarded in a way that, there's 3 or 4 kids waiting for an autograph, and next thing you know, you see a representative, whether it be on the sales side or on the hosting side, usher them out of the restaurant and making this rookie player look like the bad guy. And then you'd hear about it when you're at other events. Like, they're like, oh, we are going to get such and such's autograph. But literally there was 4 of us waiting, and they said he had to go, and they brought him out as if like he was the president of the United States. So there's 3 things I want to unpack here. One, like, let the youth talk, right? I do enjoy Sean Brace, our program director for Fox Sports, because he does encourage young-minded people to get involved and get their voices out there, because that's how he grew in the industry. He went from getting paid nothing at The Fanatic to hosting his own show to now being a program director for Fox Sports Radio. So it's pretty awesome, and he understands like you got to pay dues, but also give them back because people paved the way for you. Mm-hmm. The second thing is like, dude, chill out. First off, you're a radio host, right? Like, you're not that important, Howard. You're not. And second off, like, who cares that she interrupted you? Like, hear what she needed to say. Maybe it had context or had something to do with that, and politely treat her the same way you would treat if you were talking to her and Brendan Graham interrupted you. So this hierarchy of these players are here and these radio hosts are there, they need to calm down, because, like, honestly, when I saw that, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to shut down this broadcast. And I have not broadcast for that certain person since then. So I promise you, it's silliness. Skip Bayless, in my humble opinion, has been past his prime for a long time. I'm not saying we got to old yeller these people. Like, make them earn it, or make them understand that, hey, like, you need us as much as we need you, or maybe you need us more than we need you, especially as you get older. So, like, it's just, for me, seeing Howard Eskin, like, it always bothered me to find out he's a Met fan. I saw him in a Met jacket, and it made me so angry. I had no idea. To watch his son get the benefits of his family's name is annoying. Spike ruined WFAN, made it so unenjoyable. It wasn't even funny. Pretty much ran Craig Carton out of there, who, by the way, Craig Carton in Philly would be 1,000 times better than any Eskin ever would be, because he knows what to make Philly tick, and he still has better Philly options than that. And by the way, great human being that I've interrupted at a live setting while he was talking to Pete Alonso, and he introduced me. He's like, oh, this is Mike, blah, blah, blah. He gets very excited, Pete. So I'm not going to sit there and say that it's all of them. I'm going to say it's a lot of these older heads that have no respect for people that are behind the scenes that may have something to bring up. And I think this young woman had something to bring to the conversation. And granted, it was a crazy time because that show was the one where BG mentioned that there was turmoil between, Hurts and other players. And it was just like AJ Brown. Yeah, thank you. I was thinking about his wings because they sell his wings at Chickies and Pete's. Bro, it's hot honey. AJ Brown's wings are amazing. But I also accidentally called them Antonio Brown wings at one point. And they're like, yo, we don't sell those here.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, I was afraid to say the wrong Brown again.
That's okay.
So
it happens.
Yeah, but, yeah, man, I don't know. That's my TED Talk. I know I kind of just hijacked a solid 6 minutes.
Dude, I mean, yeah, I will do as much research as I can on that. I'm not too familiar with those radio hosts or that situation. I will say for Skip Bayless's standpoint, look what happened when Shannon left, and you tried to surround him around people that we, the fans, enjoy listening to, but it just didn't work, and they kind of pushed Skip out. And that's exactly why Skip is just throwing Dak Prescott's jersey into the trash can on Instagram now and not on social medias for big companies, is because he's just outdated. He was outdated a long time ago. Personally, myself, I think around the Stephen A. Smith days is kind of when that should have ended. Whatever he's got going on in his life is his life. I will say from working in the WNBA, it's like I definitely do see a lot of messed up stuff, a lot, and sometimes not from the Sky organization, but when other teams come into town, you can kind of feel a weird presence, I guess you could say. Like when Seattle came into town, you could kind of feel a weird vibe. And then obviously other organizations as well. Like Phoenix is an amazing organization, and what they've been trying to do as of late is really beneficial. But as where I say that, Skylar Diggins Smith will tell you something else. You know what I mean? So everybody has a different experience. I could sit here today and tell you the Sky are the best. Right? Yeah. So it's everybody has a different. Even Vegas, Las Vegas, everybody loves Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Becky Hammond, but Hamby will tell you something completely different, to where they basically let her go because she was with child. And I think that's like the weirdest thing to me. And it's like those are so many conversations behind closed doors that I don't even know about. Of how players are treated, and Skylar Diggins Smith talking about how after she had a baby, they weren't letting her use the facilities, and a bunch of other stuff happening. Like she couldn't go work out, she couldn't do this, she couldn't do that. There's a lot of stories, and sometimes the players are at fault, sometimes the ownership, sometimes it's like you said, some jag who runs, hey, we're just making sure he gets A to B, and I'm going to cuss out 3 kids on my way there because I have a power trip. Like there's a bunch of people like that. And and I've dealt with it at other networks I've worked for. Haven't experienced that at the Give Us a Shot network. Haven't experienced that with the Divide or anything like that, or even the ASAP network. Jay treated me with respect all the time. But I've definitely, and as I've grown, now turning 25, I've learned as a young person, take it with grace. Everybody has their day, good or bad. Everybody has their day. And I think just being consistent and being you is the best thing possible. Like I've definitely cussed out a few people throughout my time for the mistreatment of myself or others. And then I kind of learned, they'll have their day. You go about your day. And that's not to say for that woman or anybody in those circumstances not to use your voice. Definitely use your voice. But I've learned, like, okay, I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing, and everybody's going to see you at some point. So I'm just going to I'm not going to step down to that level of who you are. You know what I mean? Like, just trying to be as positive as possible while also getting your story out there is important.
For me, I'm cool and I'm calm until you think you're better than somebody else, or you think that you are more privileged than somebody else.
Yeah, like I'm just on social media, bro. Like you know what I mean? Like I'll never.
No, I know. I'm just saying. Like,
No, I mean like I don't get how you could like, especially radio people, like respectfully.
Be humble,
I think
dude.
a lot of
Yeah.
people wouldn't even know if me and you were on Fox Sports Radio, right? I think majority of people who listen to radio don't even know what those people look like because you only
Yes,
see them
right.
or you only hear them. So it's like,
Yeah.
dude,
And
you
then when
couldn't
you
even
see them, you're like, oh my God, they look so much different than
Yeah.
what I thought they sounded like, right? So
Yeah. So it's like, how do you
yeah.
even act like you're famous for real? I don't know. Like there was a guy, 101.9 The Mix, Eric and Kathy, and there's a lot of stuff that like comes out about that guy. And there were all these reports that why Kathy left the show, and that he was just a dick. Like for a lack of a better word, he was just a dickhead.
Even the guy that I said was nice, humble, and a good human being, he went to jail. Craig Carton went to jail for ripping people off. So I'm not trying to say that there's a compass where like it's right or wrong. I'm just saying like, hey man, if somebody's behind the scenes and they're helping you, like treating them like trash. Like I can't tell you how many times like I've noticed it with some of the baseball things I've produced where like the guy that maybe shouldn't be saying anything is complaining that there's feedback in the headphones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're on a remote, you know, or they're asking me for a sound check or they're not happy that I didn't have my headphones. I'm like, well, one, you need to calm down. Like, you know, like two, like I don't work for you. Like to make that completely, you know, you're an egotistical host and you need to be knocked down a couple pegs. So that's how I feel about Howard Eskin. That's how I feel about Spike. You know, it's pretty funny to see Spike get in front of this and say, like, I am not my father, like, blah, blah, blah. Oh, now you don't want to be attached to the bloodline. Like, but that bloodline seemed to help you, dude, because, like, honestly, like, you sound terrible on the mic. You're not a good program director. The one thing that you did bring to WFAN in New York that you brought from WIP is the ability to do shows and remote stuff. So I do appreciate that because WFAN didn't really do that or they didn't do it well. So you did teach them that craft a little bit better.
I've never seen this side of Mike before.
Yeah, but outside of that, man, like anybody with the last name Eskin, like they could just bounce, dude. They're so bad. They're so bad, you know, and it's infuriating too because the Met fan base did not care if Spike was at the playoff games, but a lot of these Philly people did a great job of making sure New York media was not allowed into the bank. And it's hilarious because they were more afraid because when the Sixers and the Knicks played, the Knicks took over Wells Fargo. So it was a home game in Philly for cheaper. So I think they didn't want that to happen with the Mets Phillies, so they were overly protective.
For sure.
But we all know how that ended up. So with that, I want to get into our last topic and call it a Sunday. Is MLB, man. Like, look, like I know you've had some exciting things, and I want to talk about it with the Cubs. The Mets, obviously, Juan Soto. Since then, I feel like we're a little hungover. Like, I want this Pete Alonso thing to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I've been saying for since the home run derby that he's probably going to end up with the Rangers, and I still, in my brain, think that's what the team he's going to sign with, which sucks. But go back there with DeGrom. You know, I know Todd Frazier enjoyed his time in Texas, although it was short. So I if gun to my head, I think he's going to be a Ranger. But yeah, how's the shy kid feeling about the Cubs?
We're there, and I say that because I don't see it yet. Obviously, there's guys that can definitely change things. Like Vientos was huge for you guys this year, and like watching like Volpe come up in the Bronx. Like really just seeing guys make those impacts. So we got guys like Matt Shaw and Owen Casey that I'm really excited about. You know, Matt Shaw in the hot corner, hopefully at third base. I don't want to hear this Yohan Moncada bullshit about bringing him in. Stay on the south side. We're good off that. Like, I'm good. You know, this guy was supposed to be the next Mike Trout level caliber player when they traded him from the Red Sox for Chris Sale back in like 2016, 2017. And that man couldn't hit water if he fell off a Titanic boat on a crisp night in 1912. So I don't want to hear nothing about Yohan Moncada to the Cubs. You know, you get Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker, I mean, I'm ecstatic about it. But, like, for me, and I've kind of talked about it on the pod, you know, really breaking down how Theo Epstein's foreseer and Jed Hoyer, you know, he's done a decent job. Obviously, traded away the core on some Moneyball stuff where, you know, we just didn't want to pay Rizzo, Bryant, and Baez. And really, if we're going to be honest, none of those guys are really relevant today, so I'm not mad about it. But at some point, you got to start spending money like the damn Chicago Cubs again. And that's really where I'm at. So my thing, working at Wrigley Field as grounds crew and facilities for $15 an hour at 4 a.m. with fire hoses and power washers, all this shit, wouldn't pay us. So I'm like, well, at least they'll play Chris Bryant. Like, nope, didn't pay him either. But I think Jed making that move is a power move because it's like, you ask me for the guy every single offseason. You know, get the guy. Get a Manny Machado. Get a Shohei. Get a Mike Trout. Okay, now I got you the guy. I got you Kyle Tucker. He's on a 1-year deal, and it's your responsibility as the Ricketts organization to open up your wallets and pay him whatever he sees fit. And that's really where I'm at, is I think it's going to be unfortunate if Kyle Tucker rips 40 dingers at Wrigley in 2025 and he ends up signing to the Bronx and wins MVP the following year. You know, like, it'll be sickening to me. So, yeah, that's really where I'm at. Obviously, he's not going to extend anytime this year. He's going to bet on himself like Soto did, and justifiably so. I mean, the man in like 78 games had 23 home runs, that would be the second most on the Cubs in 2024. And Ian Happ played like 50% more games than he did. So that's just where I'm at. I think it's going to be a great addition. I still think we got one more big fish to fry. I've been huge on Jack Flaherty. I think the Cubs bringing Jack Flaherty would be huge for them. And I kind of felt that way since the beginning of the offseason just because Corbin Burns, you know, Max Fried, way too expensive. I think it'll come down to Roki Sasaki. I'm really excited to see Sasaki and see what he's going to be able to do. But I've heard that he kind of prefers smaller markets. So if he ends up on the O's or the White Sox, I'll kind of be like, what the heck? But, you know, it is what it is, man. But Mr. 700, how are you feeling, sir? I never got your on-air take about Juan Soto to the Mets. And then on top of that, how surprised were you that you actually brought back Sean?
Yeah, so I'm equally as excited for that because the arm angle is a game changer, right, with Sean Manaea. And the fact that it could really solidify that starting rotation, right? Like, so it is exciting. It's still, you know, is there going to be tape about him? Is he going to be able to be as elite as he was? It's very hard for starting pitchers to do that. You and I talked about this off the air, about the pitch clock, about different things that, you know, the velocity, things, the wear and tear of a starting pitcher's arm nowadays, and how quickly they're almost like the running backs now, right? They're almost out of it before they start. You know, you witnessed it with DeGrom. Yeah, granted, he got a ring with the Rangers. He did not play, you know, and stuff like that. So it's just, it's tough. The Soto thing feels good because I was tired of being the runner up. And what I mean by that is like all these situations, like we took Ohtani out to dinner. We took this guy out to dinner. You know, we negotiated with this guy. It was a great negotiation. You know, Lindor felt great when he came on. I'll never forget the dinner was a chicken. He ordered chicken parm with Steve Cohen. So I like that I learn like all this stuff, and I like that there's a human element to the Cohens. You know, and same thing with Juan Soto. Like I felt like, you know, I remember 3 or 4 years ago he posted a picture in Citi Field and said like, hey, this would be cool to have for my future. So now that's reality. But I am afraid of things when you get into this caliber of a salary and the amount that there's a bigger chance of a bust than a boom, right?
Sure.
So because if he performs the way he's supposed to, everybody's like, of course he is. Like, that's what you paid him to do, right? So there's no upside to this. If I was to pick a level of Ohtani versus Robinson Cano, I'm scared to say it's closer to a Robbie Cano deal than an Ohtani deal in my brain, just because there's so much more that could go wrong, right? Whereas like Ohtani is an absolute freak. So, and that's no slide of either player. It's just
No,
like,
right. There's
yeah.
levels to it, And like,
Yeah.
okay, so like I'll give you this one. I'll bring in Pay to this situation because she's growing up in this situation to where it's like I grew up with the 100+ loss Chicago Cubs. That was my childhood. Now Pay is there for the very beginning, and she understands what's going on. Is kind of the best part of it. Like Sammy Sosa played for the Cubs and hit 100 home runs when I was born to 2004, but I don't remember any of them. So for you, and like especially thinking about your daughter and her experience with this deal, is it championship or bust? Or if Juan Soto wins 6 MVPs throughout his Mets tenure, do you see that as a win? Or do you have to win a championship?
Based off of the amount, like $900 million invested back into the team this offseason already, and it doesn't sound like it's stopping. Like, obviously, we're going to have an answer for first base, whether it's a Band-Aid type situation for 1 year and we go after Vladdy bad next year.
He's mine. He's mine.
But again, it sounds great. It sounds awesome, but his body structure could end his season quicker, than most. So like there's so much up in the air, but yeah, I think you can't not be excited to have an owner that wants to win, has a reason to win. His father-in-law is getting up there in age, and he wants a huge Met fan, bigger than anybody else on the team is Alex Cohen's father, and they want to win one before he's gone. So there is a time of the essence. This is recreational for Steve Cohen, but he has so it's kind of like some of this money he spends is the fan side of him, and others is like, hey, this is what I want to do outside of my 9 to 5. So it's a really cool situation. I think the Mets are in. I don't want us to be like the Dodgers and just overdoing it. I do still like homegrown feelings and homegrown players, but I feel like we have the mix for both of that right now because the farm system is elite, top 5, you could argue. And the roster right now, as it stands, is scheduled to win 91.5 games and most people are predicting that. So it's pretty exciting.
I do kind of want to just bring it up because I don't want to be the bearer of bad news and I don't want to act like he's won a silver slugger here. But Pete Crow Armstrong on this Mets team, I think about it all the time. And I think about like
I have
the
so
oh
many
my
rookie
God
cards
stuff.
of him that I'm gonna give to you, and it's
Dude,
like
I'll take them all. I'll take them
I
all.
know.
You got any of his first,
Yeah.
I'll take them. But like
Yeah.
I really do like think about that all the time. Like he fits Chicago, but he fits this Mets team too. Like a little white ginger guy who's got a bunch of swag, who's got the drip, he's got the cleats, like he's got aura, and he's so much fun. And I think about like, man, they really traded away PCA for a few months of Javi Baez. And like in hindsight, like I guess because Lindor really wanted to play with him, and I think at that time Lindor was like, man, do I even want to be here? Because like, you don't know what the future is gonna hold. The farm wasn't as strong, the roster wasn't as strong. But man, looking back on it, if PCA was on the Mets, dude, like do you ever watch him just stealing home and running around the entire bases in like 14 seconds and be like, damn?
Yeah. Well, so I do and I don't. I do see outside looking in a little bit of like Navy's not the best locker room guy, and I could be wrong by that. But he comes off a little arrogant And
I'll
a
say it
little
on here, and
yeah.
it could ruin opportunities. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I went down there to see him in Iowa. No,
Yeah.
not like ruin, like
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
It
yeah,
is what it
yeah.
is, and I've said this openly to anybody. Like
And
Pete,
people grow,
yeah, I've heard my experience driving all the way down to Des Moines, Iowa, which I don't suggest to anybody because coming from Chicago, going to Des Moines is a huge reality check. But I got a chance to meet Pete and kind of blew me off. And, like you're in AAA Iowa, you're 20 years old, you skipped college, you didn't go to Vandy because you thought you were too good, so you went to the Mets. And I think he was really egotistical. I think he was up his own ass. I think he smelled himself a little too much. And then he went 0 for 10 in September in the bigs in 2023. Struggled, didn't make the opening day roster in 2024. And from talking to a few guys throughout the organization, I think there was a switch that kind of clicked for him where it's like, okay, I kind of got to lock in. And I've seen a much better version of him. And I've seen a guy who's growing a lot. This is a young kid, and
well,
at first he came across as a douchebag. I'm not going to lie to you. But I've seen growth, and both on the field and off the field. So I'm hopeful it stays that way because you and I have talked about it before about certain players. They smell themselves a little bit too much, then they come back down to reality. But then when they start performing really well again, they kind of smell themselves too much a little bit. So I'm hoping it stays.
Well, think about, let's compare it to a guy that is now obviously a veteran, a captain, Lindor, right? The first time he hit a grand slam in the playoffs, he was with Cleveland and he celebrated like he just won the lottery, and it was like overly aggressive, and this time when he did it against the Phillies, the most he did was put it like his hand on his helmet, like to make sure
Quiet
it didn't
as a
fall off
mouse.
while he rounded first. Yeah, and they asked him about it, and he's like, "Look, like this isn't like I'm here for more. I'm here for more." And, so not to segue back into the Eagles, but that's how I feel about Barkley right now. He's here for more now. It's not just these individual goals. One heartbreaker, Brennan Davis, and I know how much he means to you, is now in the Bronx. So he lost Belly, but you understood that. I felt like the haul for Bellinger you were pretty excited about. Also, the funniest thing about Bellinger is the fact that his girl used to date Giancarlo, right?
Yeah. And a couple other people as well. And I don't know what that locker room's going to be like. I don't know what those conversations will be like, if there are any. I know they're professionals at the end of the day, but, like, I know she'll be in attendance for certain games. So, like, that's just – I don't know. If I'm Giancarlo, first I would change my name back to Michael because I don't know why Michael wasn't good enough. From two Mics on the pod, we're just saying. But,
right. Like,
we
should change our names.
Yeah, I'm gonna be Giancarlo. But no, I don't know. I don't, as a man, I just don't know how you feel about it, And it's like, damn. I guess at the end of the day, as long as you win the World Series, who gives a flying crap, But like, nah, that would rub me the wrong way, dude. That would rub me so wrong. I'd be sick. I'd be like, you're not going to any games this year. I'm telling you that. Right
Stay away. No.
Go get some food when Belly's up to bat. You're not watching his at bats.
Yeah,
go do something.
He's definitely Googling like why they broke up for sure. Like he's in all.
He's like, do you still love him? Like, what, dude? What are you talking about? No, but I mean I get it, bro. Brennan. It sucks. It sucks for Brennan because it sucks for Brennan, but it really doesn't at the same. Like, I'm so happy he's not here, just because we have so many outfielders right now. It's not even funny. Like, Owen Casey's one of the best outfielding prospects in baseball, and he's not even on this roster right now. You got Happ, Suzuki, Kyle Tucker, Pete Crow Armstrong. You had Bellinger, Kevin Alcantara. Like, we have a bunch of guys in front of Brennan, and with all the back issues and injuries he sustained, the concussion in spring training, he's on a roll prior to that too. Yeah, it's just really unfortunate. So to see him go to New York, I even texted him, I better see you do the Soto Shuffle at some point. They're in AAA or maybe even in the bigs. I'm hoping for him, man. Because he's a friend of the pod, great human being, and he's paid his dues, man. Like, he's
big time.
He is way past AAA. Like, and it's just the fact that he's not healthy enough when those opportunities come is the only reason he's still down there. Like, he's been there way too long.
Well, look, as the weather heats up and the hot stove continues to burn, we'll be talking. more baseball, and then we'll throw in some football and other sports, obviously,
Maybe.
throughout the way. But Mikey, I want to thank you for hopping on this Sunday. Hopefully, we could get into a better rhythm together in 2025, because I do appreciate everything you do on social media for us, throughout the network, creating content. I mean, it's insane. And, on your own TikTok, I mean, it's just impressive. The Juan Soto videos that you have made have warmed my heart so much that I still, I won't, until we win a World Series, I won't be like, man, that was a great signing. And that sucks. But to give you an idea of, how horrifying it is to have that type of player, and then knowing the Mets, being similar to some of the Chicago teams where they can overly invest and then it just all implodes. I grew up on a book. I was 8 years old, and I convinced my parents to let me buy a book that I probably shouldn't have been reading at the time, but it was called The Worst Team Money Could Buy: The Collapse of the New York Mets. And man, the off-field stuff that I read and the inappropriate stuff that I read made me go to church after reading it. And then I would have read it year after year after year after year. So it's embedded into my skull what the Mets did in the 90s. And then if you go past 95, all of a sudden the Yankees are this dynasty. Everybody's wearing pinstripes. Everybody's wearing Yankee hats. And I was like, where were you 5 years ago? And it's just now they're still wearing that crap, even though you could argue the Mets have had just as much success since 2009 than the Yankees. But yeah, they still love to wear it. So I'm excited for baseball, dude. I'm excited for everything coming up, and I'm excited for our conversations to keep going. So thanks, brother, for hopping on with me.
Thank you.
So this was The Divide Live. You could catch us on Fox Sports Philadelphia, The Gambler, the Give Us a Shot Network, and all things social media at The Divide Live. So that's easily where you can find us. And then you can find Mikey not only creating content for The Divide Live, Give Us a Shot Network, but also theshy.kid on all platforms.
What a dick. Some guy took the Shy Kid, so I had to put a dot in it. But maybe one day we'll buy him out. Who knows?
Yeah, I'll start DMing him now. Just
hey, bro, let me get that.
Send somebody to his house. But
Ayo.
But all right, everybody, have a great rest of your Sunday, and we'll talk to you later.